Greetings, brothers and sisters. This is my new sort of backup channel, Gratefulness Meditation Apocalypse POTF, Box of the Future. If you go to my description box, I don't have a video that has this on it yet because I just changed it. These are the upload defaults, which makes it really easier for me and everybody else to upload videos because it just has the same things in here. You see there's my merch. There's the my books on Amazon. There's Apocalypse Now backup YouTube channel. And this is Gratefulness Meditation Apocalypse Now YouTube channel. So if you go to any of my channels, this is what you'll find. And there'll be 4 things down. Go to this channel and subscribe. You know, if I get a strike on this channel, I won't be able to upload for a week. And my other channel is down for the next 2 weeks. So this will be the only way that people will be able to contact me. And so the more subscribers I get here, the better. I need 10,000 subscribers to monetize this channel. And so it'd be great if I could get up to 10,000 subscribers, you know, in the next, I don't know, couple of months. Just because who knows what's going on with YouTube. And also, you know, if I do anything with gratefulness meditation, which, you know, becomes more of a thing, I might start putting my other videos up here. There's no reason to do that now, but I could at least put some of them up here. And, you know, but it's a backup channel, and, you know, my Instagram page and my Facebook page, those are the only ways that people have of contacting me or finding me on the internet if, you know, both of my channels are down for some reason, right? And this one won't have pretty much any content on it. It doesn't have any content on it now. I'll upload an explanation video for the channel today or tomorrow, whatever it is. But for right now, you know, people can, and I'll do a separate video about this as well. And I'll mention this for a couple of, you know, every couple of days I'll mention this to get people to subscribe here. But it's just a good idea if you want to, you know, stay in contact with me and be able to find my videos, then subscribing to this channel would be kind of important. But anyways, you know, that's that. And let's move on to the, you know, it's going to be an epic day. Lots of stuff to get to today. Epic day of, like, you know, all kinds of things are happening. There's a lot of things happening this past week. Okay, so I'm editing, and I just want to add one more thing to this. YouTube's policy to not let you upload for a week just absolutely sucks. I mean, it sucks certainly for me and certainly for you all. And we are, you know, the backbone of what YouTube is, right? You and I are both customers of YouTube. We watch YouTube videos as creators, but also as creators, we're customers. We have a relationship with them. We bring revenue into them, and we're using their, you know, their platform. So the first thing is YouTube often gets things wrong. Their algorithms get things wrong, and they tag a video that isn't breaking their community guidelines. So I've had, I think, about 8 videos reversed on both channels where they thought the algorithm said I broke their community guidelines, and then someone watched it and said, no, you didn't. But during that time I'm waiting, I'm not able to upload, and it hurts my channel. Now, I can understand if there's something where, you know, it's like child abuse. I mean, some kind of really harsh kind of, you know, where someone's breaking the community guidelines for something that's criminal or whatever, that you would want to suspend that creator's ability to upload a video. But 99% of the strikes are, you know, there's not really any real damage that's done, right? It breaks the rules, but it's not nefarious, evil, or criminal. So by making it that you can't upload for 1 week and then 2 weeks, it kills your channel, and it hurts all of the viewers who, I mean, their customer base, their 2 customer bases, the creator and the viewer. It hurts both of them. But it also hurts YouTube, like the stupidity of it, because it just, you know, for one, it pisses people off, and it makes your customers frustrated and look for other alternatives. But it also stops the flow of the channel, and it decreases the overall amount of views the channel's going to receive, as well as the income YouTube would get from it, right? And YouTube is doing things that are self-destructive all the time by changing their algorithms and trying to force you to watch something you don't want, like what they call authoritative news, when you want to watch truther videos. it just pisses people off. And it's, when you search for something and the search engine gives you something that you don't want, and they're forcing some, point of view on you that you don't want to, that you're not all about, right? You're going to stop using it, and you're going to get frustrated and pissed off. And so YouTube has done a number of things where they're actually sabotaging their own platform. I mean, they're controlled, and they have their governmental financing or whatever else they're doing, but it's self-destructive no matter how you look at it. By pissing off your customer base and making it harder for them and worse for them as an experience, then they're failing, and it's just not logical. Right? It's not good business. Anyways, let's get into the other stuff here. Okay, so let's move on to Fish Boy. Fish Boy is about, all about it, right?
You could take the 5 worst presidents in American
There's Fish Boy right there. Like, boom. You can't not see it anymore.
history and put them together.
There it is again. Boom. It's just Fish Boy. I think I don't know if I've shown you this. Maybe I did. I put in another video. There was a Fish Boy, actual fish. And so he's going after Jojo Magoo here.
And they would not have done the damage Joe Biden has done to our nation in just a few short years. Not
even close.
even close.
All right. So Joe Biden has been a disaster, but Trump, I think his presidency did more damage because the whole gender thing happened under Trump, Operation Warp Speed, the whole COVID thing, all of it, right? I mean, all that was under Trump. And so, I don't know. Like, in terms of pushing this agenda, I mean, there was all this agenda that was pushed through because Trump was hated so much and was an excuse and a fall guy, and he was the motivation to push it through. So I can't tell, they're both puppets, right? I couldn't, say which one is worse because it's all going to go, it's nothing stopping the it's like the depravity is just going to, the collapse of the system's happening no matter what, right?
Thanks to Joe Biden's socialist spending calamity, American families are being decimated by the worst inflation in half a century.
Trump shut down the economy because they pressured him into it. So it isn't like, Trump's fault. I mean, he got worked on COVID, so that's his fault. But the whole thing, the way they played him, like that's all his fault. But he had a big bailout. He shut down the economy. Then Jojo Magoo came in with more bailouts. They both looted money. I'm sure of it. I can't prove it, but I know they did. There's no way they didn't get paid when they did all those bailouts. And so, to say there's some difference here, you Trumpers, like it's, this is funny, and Trump is sharper as a character than Jojo Magoo, whose, brain is turned to mush. But other than that, like, they're kind of the same guy, right? They have different, policies, so to speak, but they're both a disaster.
Banks are failing, our currency is crashing, and the dollar will soon no longer be the world standard, which will be our greatest defeat.
Just watch his mouth. You got to watch his mouth, Fish Boy.
In over 200 years. Real wages have been falling 24 months in a row. In other words, under Biden, workers have gotten a pay cut each.
So there it is. It's just Fish Boy all over the place. You can't see it. You can't not see it. You might even like Trump, but you can't deny the Fish Boy effect. But this is the key right here.
And every month for 2 straight years. We have surrendered our energy independence, just like we surrendered in Afghanistan, which we had just a short time ago, and the price of gasoline just hit a 5-month high, and it's going much higher than that. Under my leadership, we had the most secure border in U.S. history by far. Never had a border like this.
You got to be a weak-minded person to fall for the braggadocious nature of politicians in general, and Trump in particular. They're always bragging and saying what they've done and how great they are. And, it's become a plague on the political landscape because someone can't be genuine and humble and, naturally humble. They have to write their own resume. They have to sell their resume constantly, and people eat it up, right? People in America love people who brag. They say they don't, but people who brag are very successful. People who are self-promoters talk about how great they are. People believe them, right?
Under Biden, the southern border has been abolished and millions of illegal aliens have been released into our communities. What's happening now is beyond belief.
It's beyond belief.
Coming in from mental institutions and prisons are all being emptied. They're being dumped into the United States of America.
And so this is Trump's reaction to Jojo Magoo's announcement yesterday.
Let's finish this job. I know we can.
Let's finish this job.
Because this is the United States of America. There's nothing, simply nothing we cannot.
We can't do it. We can. It's nothing we can do if we work with each other.
Do if we do it together.
We do it together. Let's finish the job. So I referenced Mortal Kombat.
Finish him. Finish him.
And so I kind of remembered that. Someone made a comment about it saying, honestly, Paul, finish him, the comment said. Finish him. Honestly, Paul, I don't think I've ever heard you reference a specific video game in almost 10 years. I've been subscribed to your YouTube channels, and then you bust out an epic and very fitting Mortal Kombat reference. I was talking about how that was the kind of thing you say when you're going to kill somebody or somebody wants you finished him, right? Finish the job. And in terms of the Mortal Kombat reference, here's something from Ernie Joe. In terms of the Mortal Kombat reference, I haven't played video games in years, but when I was working in my first treatment center, Mortal Kombat came out. And it was going to be a banned game, any sort of controversial game. These were kids who were termed sexually reactive. They were junior sex offenders, ages 10 to 14, and they had acted out sexually in some way. Most of them were abused in one way or another. And so they were, messed up kids. And they lived in a very restrictive environment. And they were prone to, all kinds of negative behaviors, including violence. And so when the video game came in on Christmas, some kid got it for Christmas. We were like, let's let him play it for one day, right? Me and the other staff, because we knew it was going to be banned. And so they were playing this game, and I was there was like a computer, like a video game room that was separate. There was a TV room and a little side room where they could play video games. And there were 5 kids in there. And they were playing the game. And by the end of the day, it was Christmas Day, right? And by the end of the day, all 5 kids were on restriction. Well, what happened was the kids were playing the video game. They started getting hostile and they started to get triggered, all of them. And the 2 kids who were playing it were almost fighting. And so I said, we're done. Let's go outside. And we went outside it was cold. It was, December 25th is Christmas Day in Massachusetts, right? So it's cold outside. There's a playground there, and the kids ran around. And the toughest kid came up to me and said, "This was a good idea." He was like, we were getting kind of triggered in there, right? Like he knew that breaking away from the game was a good idea. And I didn't know much about video games and their effects on I was just understanding the hold they had on kids when kids played them. This is back in 1995 or 4 or something, 1994, 3 or 4. And so I left, I went home at 2 o'clock or whatever. My shift was over. It was 7 to 2 or something. And I came back the next day and all 5 kids were on restriction. And the 2 kids who played the game the most, they went back and played the game after I left, right? Like I said, this is probably not a good idea because they couldn't really handle it. But the staff at night, said the same thing. It was Christmas Day, so let the kids play. And the 2 kids who were playing it the most got into a fist fight. And the rest of them acted out in some way, and they were all on restriction. And I was like, wow, these video games are really, So that's that's how I remember Mortal Kombat. It's a very violent game, and it's got increasingly violent since then. it has these fatalities, and each character has a gruesome way of killing their opponent after they've defeated them. But anyways, speaking of gruesome, here we are with the Morning Joe twins.
Despite Joe Biden officially jumping into the 2024 race, former President Donald Trump appears focused on his potential Republican rival, Ron DeSantis.
Obviously, you guys didn't see the video he was slamming Jojo Magoo.
Trump's campaign released this new ad.
Ron DeSantis was struggling big time in his primary race for governor of Florida.
He was struggling big time.
Polls revealed DeSantis was failing so bad, he was
Boom, look at that picture.
losing by a staggering 17 points.
Whoa.
Then DeSantis was saved by the endorsement of President Trump. Trump's support was so powerful. Just 2 days after the endorsement, DeSantis took a commanding lead, and it propelled him to being elected governor.
I'd like to thank
That endorsement doesn't carry the same weight anymore.
our president for standing by me when it wasn't necessarily the smart thing to do.
You're welcome, Ron.
You're welcome, Ronnie.
Unfortunately, instead of being grateful, DeSantis is now attacking the very man who saved his career. Isn't it time DeSantis remembers how he got to where he is?
Isn't it time?
Make America great again.
Big league. So good.
Build the wall. Then Mr. Trump said, "You're fired." I love that part.
Truth is,
Wow, this is
there's only one person who can make America great again.
It's actually funny in there.
Wow.
Yeah.
First of all, no one can make America great again. I don't know if America was ever great. I mean, I have my different views of it. That's subjective. But no one's going to bring America back to what it was, what Trump's talking about. And he's playing you Trumpers for a fool. If, after you saw what he did the first 4 years and the last 2 years, he didn't make America great again. And he wasn't on the pathway to do it. He's going to have less support. The Republicans bailed on him. He has less power. Murdoch and, New York Post bailed on him. He doesn't have the support he used to have in the establishment. And he's older and, he'll be a lame duck president in 2 years after he's elected. So his chance to make America great has passed. And he couldn't do it then. And by telling you he's going to do it this time, he's making a fool of you. Some of that ad was funny. Some of it was kind of good, but most of it was remedial, like for remedial minds, right? DeSantis is a much better choice. Not that I'm voting for him or I want him elected or any of these things. Just because it puts an end to the Trump-Biden era, right? Which has to end. DeSantis has a much better chance of beating Biden and all that implies. Whatever is going on behind the scenes, it's much harder for them to make a case against DeSantis the way they've made it against Trump. Trump is a polarizing figure. But I don't care. I don't care what happens here. But Trump is, for you Trumpers, I don't know what to say, right? Again, and it's not my job to say anything because you got to make up your own minds. But I mean, Trump is now entering everything he does is cringy, right? Fish boy.
Yeah, Willie, it's not true that Trump is better shot of beating Biden, but I don't think we're gonna see Ron DeSantis against Biden if this continues the way it is. It seems that DeSantis is just everything he's doing is wrong. Is he?
It seems counterintuitive.
He says he's going to stay in Tallahassee until the legislative session's over. He's flying across the world, meeting world leaders. It seems like he
skips the flooding in Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah, just ignores the flooding in Fort Lauderdale.
Wow, just whatever. It's so horrible. Well, Jojo Magoo is a pinnacle of leadership and sanity. This is what I was talking about yesterday. How can they come out here and pretend Jojo Magoo is a reasonable, rational, competent person? Never mind president. I mean, it's just they've embarrassed themselves. Look at this guy over here. I mean, it's just, the whole thing has become like just a complete embarrassment. The human race is embarrassing right now. Like America is leading the way. I mean, I'm sure these other countries, we don't know because we're not paying attention because we don't give an F about those, other countries and leaders. But these American journalists and politicians and Hollywood celebrities and athletes and everybody that's, a prime person in the news is just an embarrassment, right? Our species is becoming an embarrassment.
Good evening.
So let's get into Tucker Carlson a little bit more, because this is turning out to be interesting. MSNBC, this guy gets worse ratings than Rachel Maddow. They're barely visible, right? And they have no effect. Not that Tucker Carlson had any effect either, right? But they had, pretty much no effect.
Evening from New York. I'm Chris Hayes, and I'm not going anywhere. The election of...
That's because MSNBC is allowing you to suck, right? You're making it sound like that's some badge of honor that you're going to, the MSNBC is going to stick with you even though your show sucks and nobody watches it.
Donald Trump ushered in a period where it felt like there was zero political gravity, that the laws of physics had been suspended, particularly when it came to how people talked in public life. Before the Trump era, it felt like there were some boundaries. There were things that politicians just couldn't say, things that were beyond the pale, and those would change over time, but there was...
See, this is the thing. This is why the media and other politicians hate Trump so much, and I've said it over and over again. He didn't stick with the roles, the prescribed roles and script. He didn't act presidential. And he would do things, again, they were narcissistic things. He would attack people on Twitter. They were immature things. But it was great because the presidency is a joke, right? It's always been a joke. And Trump, it was so obvious that he was like some kind of a clown. But he was, at least it was honest that he was that way. He wasn't trying to act presidential and like he was, he had some leadership qualities or any of those things, right? He was just, being a reality TV star and a billionaire and a punk. He's kind of immature and narcissistic, and he wasn't hiding it. It was great, the tweet attacks and the things he would say. But it bothered these people epically. And then with Tucker Carlson dipping his toe in the truther narratives, is another thing that bothers them because they have a very strict bandwidth of things they can say and not say. And it's very limited, which we all know. It's, almost impossible to watch for any length of time because we all know all the lies and all the things that they're perpetuating. And these guys complain about it here, right? This is his thesis when he's dropping this, 10-minute segment about Tucker Carlson, is that these guys cross the line out of the bandwidth of what mainstream media people and politicians are allowed to say.
Some shared sense that those existed. But of course, the ex-president's whole approach from the beginning of that campaign was about transgressing those very boundaries. And, as of yet, facing no real punishment for it. That combination of
See, that they should be punished for saying things because, the official story is pretty much all, deception. And so if you tell a little bit of truth, and not that Trump is a truth teller because he's not. He's not a truther. He's an opportunist. And he saw an opportunity to, pander to especially right-wing truthers, right? And he was guided there. He didn't come up with it on his own. He was guided there by Steve Bannon and other people. That there was all this energy when cultivated a relationship with the epic shill Alex Jones, all these things, right? And Tucker Carlson and Fox News saw that, wow, there's this, this energy in this truther community that we want a part of, right? Because, there's not really much energy in it. And like this guy, Chris Hayes, I mean, it's like a dial tone. Nothing interesting saying, nothing groundbreaking, nothing, nothing worth watching.
Transgression and a lack of accountability for the transgression gave Donald Trump a kind of power. It was an enticing proposition for others who wanted to be like him, who felt under the thumb of some imaginary persecution, or maybe real persecution, but who wanted that same sort of power, who felt hemmed in by conventions, who wanted to transgress the way he did. So it was for the journeyman cable news host Tucker Carlson, just fired from his third network. There are only three. That's something we believe is a record.
He has a $25 million offer on the table at OAN. Somebody tweeted, I looked at my phone this morning, there was a tweet saying he had made a deal with them. He was going to be a producer and he wasn't going to be censored anymore. Like it's, like some right-wing dope, right? But Tucker Carlson, the way that there's multiple news networks now, and then he could just go on the internet, right? And he would have a huge following. He would get even more, probably a bigger following because, somebody who's been deplatformed or fired by people who are like, hey, this guy's telling the truth, he's been fired, then you become a legend, right? This actually is going to help Tucker Carlson's career immensely. And it's going to hurt Fox because, that they're losing that demographic, right-wing truthers, right? QBs and all the rest of it.
Now, his success, to the extent it existed at Fox News, flowed from, and it was an example of, the precisely same attitude, right? He believed he could say anything, no matter how vile, no matter how disgusting, no matter how offensive, no
matter how, how it poked holes in the official story. Now, as I said, this Tucker Carlson isn't a truther. He was on Fox News, and he's, he's a part of the beast. And some of the stuff he said was just stupid and wrong, and, some of the conclusions and, not going far enough, all these things. But he did embrace some of these truther narratives, and we know what happened. He had the biggest show, and he had the most energy around his show. And all of these people hate it because they can't tell the truth. They can't tell even, a little bit of the left truth, never mind the right truth or the truth, right? And so they're sitting there just having have these scripted, controlled shows that nobody watches and there's no energy in it. And this is why they hate Trump and Tucker Carlson. It's why they kind of hated Bernie Sanders because, he was, sort of a left-wing version of this. Because they're so constrained and they're so limited in their, ability to express, anything that's, that confronts even in the minutest sense the official story.
Dehumanizing or belittling. He could bully people on air, people with way, way, way less power, random freelancers who wrote something he didn't like. He could bully people behind the scenes. He could gleefully run what appears to be, from multiple reports, a hostile workplace and not face any consequences. He considered himself proudly to be uncancelable. That was kind of the whole shtick.
The whole shtick.
Now, sometimes, and I think actually often in the age of Trump, in this age we're living in, it does feel like people like that just kind of get away with it.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Let's go to Rachel Maddow.
Success in conservative media is a thing. There's always someone.
Yeah, there's no one but there's no one over where you are. Like you were losing to Chris Cuomo's, right? She was getting worse ratings than Chris Cuomo's.
It does not tend to translate to success anywhere other than the conservative media. And that's fine. I mean, conservative media itself is a very big business. It is very slick. It is very successful as an entity.
It's slick and it's big and it's all those things.
In a way, I'm sorry to say that partisan liberal media never has been. Not for want of trying. Trust me, I know. But
you guys suck. You never have been able to produce a show that's comparable to a Fox News, that could compete with a Fox News show, no matter how much they try, right? The thing is, your networks are willing to put news media out there that nobody wants to see, that has no real audience. It doesn't get the demographics they want. And Fox News is dying as well, but at least they have energy over there. And, they got outside the bandwidth a little bit with Tucker Carlson. And they're crying about it because they know they're limited by their own suckiness and by what they're allowed to say and how much they're handled and controlled. So here it is, OAN. Tucker Carlson, $25 million to join San Diego-based outlet CEO says. I don't know if that's $25 million a year. But, somebody had wrote that he had already accepted the offer, which hasn't happened. But it's, it's being floated out there. So this is, and I want to get through the rest of this before moving on here. Reports suggest Tucker Carlson was fired over prayer talk, freaks Rupert out. So it says down here that Tucker Carlson gave a speech over the weekend. And he said that he called abortion child sacrifice, cast American politics as a battle between good and evil, and suggested the solution was taking 10 minutes a day to say a prayer about it. It said Rupert Murdoch, that stuff freaks out Rupert. That stuff freaks Rupert out. He doesn't like all that spiritual talk. And so Tucker Carlson's one sin was to talk about God, right? And I don't consider Tucker Carlson a spiritual person or any of these things. But, it's even if it's just talk, it's at least talk, right? I mean, there are people who talk about God and are like basically devil worshippers, so there's that. But, Rupert Murdoch is such a demon that he couldn't have somebody on his network that was talking about God and prayer. Tucker, who Fox News hosts avoided Carlson's name after ouster. We're not talking about him, former colleague Sean Hannity said in one of the two very brief moments of Carlson's name on Fox News Monday night. So that's happening. Tucker Carlson leaving Fox News is a massive shock. Tucker Carlson and Don Lemon lawyer up, and it's the same guy. They both hired the same lawyer. Maybe it's Chris Cuomo's lawyer. Don Lemon's owed at least $25 million on CNN contract, but readies for possible legal fight. And so this is what I was saying, that he had this big contract with them, and they got new management, and they wanted to get rid of like Don Lemon first. Like he was one of the first people they wanted to get rid of. And they couldn't because they owed him all this money. It's guaranteed money, right? Like you see this with coaches and players who have big contracts, and they're kind of unfireable because you have to eat their money unless you can fire them for a cause. And, they tried to do this with Chris Cuomo's, firing him for a cause, the stuff he did with his brother. And that, I don't know how that's worked out. I think they reached some sort of a settlement. But Don Lemon's, he's got not really much of a future because he's just, he's stupid and annoying and, he doesn't have a fan base, right? Tucker Carlson has a very aggressive, strong fan base, right? But Don Lemons doesn't have that. So he needs all that money, right? This is his big payout. And whatever he's doing, he might be able to get some, remedial amount of money, but, based on his lifestyle and all of it, he needs this money, right? And CNN, they moved him to the morning show because he had this contract. Otherwise, they just would have fired him then, right? Like he just absolutely is horrible. But a lot of these people, the so-called talent, have these contracts over there, and they're locked in because they have to pay them and they have to pay somebody new, and they're hemorrhaging money over there. They're hemorrhaging, they're losing viewership. I mean, they're just it's an absolute mess, right? But $25 million, that's what kept him alive. Tucker Carlson and Don Lemon are out, but likely not for long. Experts weigh in and what's next for the fired hosts. Well, Tucker Carlson has an audience. Don Lemon doesn't, right? Don Lemon's has a name, and we already know what happened to Chris Cuomo's. Chris Cuomo's got almost no views in his new slot. I think Tucker Carlson viewers will follow him over, but you never know because people are lazy and whatever. People who are into Fox News. I mean, I don't know if Tucker Carlson will still get 3 million followers, but he might even get more depending on, what he does with the, whatever it is, right? Okay, so I got a bunch of other headlines to get to. I just got to blow through some of them because they're just building up with dropping like flies stuff, and I have way too many tabs open, so I'm going to go through those in just a moment. And a lot of bizarre things, funny, bizarre things are happening. People attacking robots and dudes yelling at babies. So I'm going to get to all that in just a moment. And so I just want to say this. And I say this quite a bit, but I don't think people really kind of grasp it or understand it. Changing people is next to impossible. Changing yourself is hard. Changing other people is next to impossible, right? You can influence people, you can inspire people, you can motivate people. But this idea that they keep on pushing, people in the truth community push it one way and the mainstream media pushes it another way. The way the mainstream media is pushing it is people like Tucker Carlson or Alex Jones or Trump can inspire people to violence, right? Can inspire people to act up against our civilization. And these people are dangerous, and people like me who post whatever truther videos, we need to be censored and all this stuff, that we're potentially dangerous. We all know it's lies, and I'm going to get to what's wrong about it because it's just flat out wrong. But first, let me say this, right? We know that they're lying. We know that they're saying that the truth will hurt the system. Yeah, that's true, but not really, because people won't buy into it, which I'll get into in a moment. But it's fundamentally hypocritical. And it's hypocritical because we are a very violent society. Our number one budgetary item is violence, war, right? Military-industrial complex and military budget. When the world reserve currency was set as the dollar, when the European countries agreed that America would have the world reserve currency and we'd be the sort of richest country in the world, it was predicated on the amount of people that live here as opposed to Europe and other places where people had money, and that we would be the world's military, that we would police the world, this whole NATO stuff, all this stuff, right? That was one of the reasons. And our movies started to get more graphic and violent, and, very, everything about American culture, the competitive nature of our sports, football, a very aggressive war on the field, and, all of it. And then video games now, that it was all about having Americans be violent, circumcising men. That increases violent tendencies and things. You can look that up if you don't believe me, right? Things like that. And so everything about our society, our culture, our country was about creating violent people. And violence is a huge part of our culture, right? With the Afghanistan war withdrawal and Jojo Magoo droning children, Obama droning children, Bush and all these other presidents having these illegal wars, millions of people killed over there in the Middle East, and then all the other economic sanctions that caused people to starve. We hurt people in the environment and, everything, right? We're violent towards the environment, our fellow creatures on this planet, polluting the planet, and just everything. Mean and hostile in comments and, the way we interact on social media. And so to say that one person can, turn people violent, right? Like Trump did or whatever it is just flat out hypocritical and wrong, right? People are violent because they're violent. And the system is rigged against demographics, and it's always changing. And, there's things that make people mad that happen all the time that make people angry, right? It's, police violence against African Americans, the changes that are happening to gender and things towards Christians and Republicans, right? Abortion on both sides. There are things that make people who are already, been programmed to be violent and angry to be more so, right? But the more important thing is, even with all that, people are pretty pacified. And they just can't change, even if they want to. Like, I know a lot of things that are going on now. And I should be working way harder than I am at, securing my future, my wife's future, and, what we're doing with our farm. I mean, we're working on it, but I could put a lot more effort into it, right? And, and I enjoy doing it, but, I have limited energy and whatever. Some of what I do here, it's not like it doesn't have value, but in some ways it's kind of a waste of time because I'm just covering things and we already know, like we don't need to know any more about the system and about its imploding. We have enough information. But even with that, and most of you who see what's going on and you can accept it and believe it, but what are you doing to prepare yourself and your children for the inevitable collapse of our system, right? And everything else about it, right? You can hear something is bad for you, and yet I know 5G and Wi-Fi is bad for me, but I work on the internet, right? I do this. We have the internet. Like, we could get rid of it, and I could do something else. We could sell food or whatever it might be, right? I mean, I believe that God wants me to do this job, so I have to deal with the internet part. But what I'm saying is, people can get knowledge and understand things are bad for them and still not give them up, right? Most people know drugs and alcohol have negative effects on them. Most people know that gambling leads to losing, and it's addictive, all these things, right? People know about these things, know that they're bad, they do them anyway. Recreationally, they support, all of us support the beastly system, what I call the beast, the system that we all, is 100% dependent on. And it's all some big illusion and show, and, we're all part of it. We're all part of the beast. Whether we think we're better than other people or not, whether, we're not doing the things they're doing the things that need to be done to keep the system going. The intelligence community, the crooked governments, the crooked corporations, the crooked banks, all of them are doing things to keep this diabolical system going. And we can wash our hands of it and pretend that we're not a part of it, but we are, right? Like, everyone who's holier than thou, all these truthers that talk about how bad it is and how bad other people are, we're all part of it, right? And we know better. And we might be higher developed souls. We might be on a higher level, so, we need to hold ourselves to a higher standard. This is what I talk about in terms of the, Sajmark gratefulness meditation that I do. If you're a, higher developed soul, then you need to be, holding yourself to a higher standard. You can't compare yourself to Trump or Joe Biden or any of these people because, they're operating on a lower level. They don't have the history, the whatever it is, right? And I say things all the time, and I know that people aren't going to agree or accept them, and I don't care. It doesn't bother me because you're not my responsibility. What you do with the information isn't my responsibility, right? Like most people, if you don't believe in past lives and understand there's past lives and future lives, because your religion, which, Jesus believed in past lives, but for whatever reason, controlling you and keeping you part of the flock, they've got rid of that because if you have past lives and future lives, they can't sell you the thing on getting to heaven. And so, there's, like in the history of spirituality, there's what's called liberation, mukti, where you free yourself from earthly bondage. You no longer have to live any future lives here. You might choose to, but you're not bound to planet Earth. You're not stuck here, right? And I've said this so much that there's going to be a massive die-off. And if it's, if it's reduced to 1 billion people, to every one person survives, there'll be 7 people will die, right? If it's less than 1 billion, I'm even more so. And so the population is going to be reduced significantly. And we're in the process of that. That's going to happen, not because of the controllers. The people in the truth community are giving all this power to the controllers. There's a divine plan. If you believe in God, there's a divine plan. If you believe in a soul, then this is, an illusionary life, just like with a video game. It's one life in a video game, right? It's not the end all. Like you die, you come back and you try it again. It's just like, you're an avatar in a video game. I mean, it's, simple to understand. But in terms of, but it feels so real and it feels like this is all there is. And, I understand all the reasoning behind it. But if there's massive die-off, and I've said this so much, then there are a lot of souls that aren't coming back. Because if you have, 7 people dying for every one person being born, right? Then, where are those 7 souls, the other 6 souls, the other 7 souls, or whatever it is, going to incarnate? There's not enough bodies, right? Are they going to come back as animals, or are they going to, what are they going to do? Like, what's going to happen to those souls? They can't leave the earthly plane. They haven't graduated earthly existence, so they can't go up. They can't go to the next level. They haven't passed. They haven't graduated. So where are they going to go, right? I've said this a lot. That's the big problem. And so if only the higher developed souls are going, then it would behoove everyone to invest spiritually and, work on that. Because, again, if you're part of the problem, you're not coming back, right? And you're the bigger part of the problem you are, the less likely that you're going to be able to, get it done. I'm going to probably include this in my journey series because it's worth repeating there as well, and I don't want to have to say it twice. And so understanding that there's past lives and future lives, and you don't have to believe it, doesn't hurt me, right? I don't care. It is, but it's information. Like it's understanding the structure of life and death and all these things. We're all in the process of dying. So what are you going to do with your life? You don't believe in a soul? Fine. You don't believe in God? Not my problem, right? I don't care. Like, you're free to believe whatever. I don't know if I'm right or not. Who knows? So, but there is information that makes it more understandable what's going on here. That your soul has a purpose, that you have a goal here, and that goal is to move closer to God and gain better understanding of your divine nature and these things, right? Get soul consciousness, be aware of it, and work through your attachments and your things that are that keep you bound to this planet, so you can free up to your soul can move on to the next, graduate from planet Earth and these things. And very few people have done that. Very few saints have even earned liberation, and fewer have learned God realization, merging back into the source. Those are the two spiritual goals that every person has, whether they want to acknowledge it or not, right? It's your soul's goals. Your soul wants to be liberated from this earthly plane of existence, and then beyond that, your soul wants to return to the source. It's natural. Everything wants to go back to its origin, go back to the divinity that inspired all of this creation, right? And go back to God. And so, people can accept that or not. It doesn't matter, and I could be wrong. Like, this is what I've invested my life in and whatever, to whatever extent. I'm kind of lazy, but I punch the clock for the most part. But in all of that, like there's, a movement that's happening, and the collapse of our civilization is part of it. Civilizations collapse, and, this one's going to collapse. And there's nothing anybody can do about it. And the fact that the people who control the power really don't want you to know that, and they don't want to confront it for themselves because they think that they somehow can control this, and they can't, right? Because that's all they know. All they know is to try to control something beyond the divine laws, and you can do it for a short period of time, and then, then you can't, right? And it's over. And so if you try to thwart the divine process, eventually you get eaten up by it, right? You get thrown out. You get denuded. You can't, whatever powers you have, whatever abilities you have, you get sent back, right? You get sent back to a lower form of life, a lower consciousness. You can be incarnated as a worm or worse, right? And just have to, start from scratch. I mean, if you're a part of the plan, sure. If you're playing a divine role of a villain, for the divine drama, sure, that's fine, whatever. But if you're not, and you're just, mucking up the works, right? And, it could be any number of people. You've just died inside. There's so many people that they're lifeless and dead. And, no matter what I say here, they're never going to get it, right? And even not that this is brilliant, but they're barely awake. They're barely conscious. They're like in a comatose state. So the majority of people that come across my channel, it's just not for them, right? There's other people who, struggle with it. They kind of sense what's I'm saying here, but they dislike me and the whole thing because it bothers their egos, whatever. They get upset. Then they listen, but they don't know why they can't stop watching or listening. And they just lurk there like trolls and, try to disrupt everything. And, that is what it is. But in reality, we have very little influence on people. The people that do the gratefulness meditation, their souls are ready and they're craving it. And some people whose souls are ready, they won't even do it, right? I would say, it was used to be 1 out of 30, 1 out of 40, Saj Mark. I mean, what I'm calling gratefulness now for just as just a name for what I've always done, which is a Saj Mark practice. Master Charge, you said 1 out of 30, 1 out of 40 people get it. And so, but those of you who do it, those of you who are interested in it, those of you who have tried it, those of you who have benefited from the teachings, whether you're interested in trying it or not, but you resonate with the energy here and whatever else it is, it's a small percentage of people. And I don't know what it is. Like, I don't know, what ratio it is, by country, country by country, but there's like 60% of the people don't have the ability for abstract thought. So they just aren't, they don't have it. And those people aren't going to, they can't come back. They're not ready. Many of them have, it's this idea of transmigration of the soul where, you start off as some, primitive creature, and then you move up as you gain knowledge of creation, and, your soul gains knowledge of whatever, and you eventually become a sentient human being, right? With a full out soul your soul is always there, but now it's more refined, and you become something that, has the ability of freedom of choice and reason. Before you might have been a dog or a cow in a previous existence, some sort of animal that was around people, and you graduate up. But as the animal life has decreased and animals have gone extinct, and people has decreased, animal life has decreased, and human life has increased, you have a lot of first-timers, creatures from other parts of the universe, whatever it is, souls from other parts of the universe that are incarnating. And, it's kind of a mixed bag here. It's, we're all people, but we're quite different in our spiritual makeup, who we are spiritually. Some of us have been around for a while. We've mastered certain levels of human life. Other people, most people, it's their first time. And so those people are going backwards unless they do something extraordinary. They make an extraordinary leap, and that's possible. But the majority of them, they're not, when the population is decreased, they're going down. And so we don't really need to worry about any of these things, right? There's going to be big changes that are happening, and then, it's going to suck for us living through it. That's always sucky when, things break down and the system you're 100% dependent on breaks down, and there's massive loss of life. This has happened on this planet and other planets before. It'll happen again. And, it's not great to live through, but it's an interesting thing to live through, right? We want things easy, we want things comfortable, but we also want, things to be interesting and exciting, and, we'll feel alive, and up until the point where, we won't be. But you'll have that, exhilaration of, instead of just sitting there being a spectator in your own life, where you have to go out and survive and, and grow and develop as a person. But there's a window of opportunity coming in the near future when everyone's going to be rattled and shook and freaked out about what's happening, when things really start breaking down. And, there's an opportunity for people to change then. Not for you to change other people, for other people to, to reach up and develop something and become something more than they are now. And they have to do that to survive. And some people will and some people won't. And, and then everything will sort of level off, and there'll be less people here, and the quality of people will go up because, the people who are on a lower level just won't be allowed to back in. Anyways, let's move on to the other stuff here. Okay, so I'm not going to get to everything because I had 14 Facebook messages. I must not have looked at them because my eyes have been bothering me, and I was tired of whatever's going on. So I'll get to some of that stuff. There's a lot of dropping like flies thing there. I want to get this video out because, I want people to see the new channel thing and whatever. But let's start here.
A Melbourne comedian says he won't apologise after provoking the city's Tibetan community. Hundreds protested outside Lewis Spears' show.
Hundreds? He didn't provoke them, right? Hundreds. The only hundreds showed up. Hundreds of people were upset. He didn't provoke them. The Dalai Lama wanted to suck on a kid's tongue and asked the kid to suck if he would suck on his tongue. And, that's the problem, right? This guy didn't provoke, making jokes in fun of that, it's going to happen.
Over a joke about the Dalai Lama. They've warned they'll do it again, but the comedian says that's comedy. Adam Hegarty
And it's good for him, right? Because I've never heard of that. Here they are. I've never heard. Look at these guys protesting.
Angry, upset, and vocal.
He asked the kid to suck on his tongue. You guys just got to eat it, right? Like,
Not the usual words to describe Tibetan Buddhists, but Melbourne comedian Lewis Spears hit a nerve with that Dalai Lama image.
And so, that's kind of funny. Richard Lewis announces Parkinson's diagnosis, retirement from stand-up comedy. He was still doing stand-up comedy. Did he ever do it? Because he wasn't really funny. I'm on the right meds, so I'm cool. He's dropping like flies. Dancing with the Stars, Len Goodman has died at 78. This guy, Forkface, and I guess he is a regular viewer here. He wrote to thank me for showing his video. I watched a few more of his videos. He does good impressions. They're funny, and And so, I usually don't give shout outs to people or whatever, but this, I enjoyed some of the stuff on this guy's channel. New Mexico will charge Russ Armour in death of Halna Hutchins after dropping charges against a man who pulled the trigger, Alec Baldwin. I always knew she was going to jail. Alec hired her, the whole thing. Sam Smith postpones another Gloria the Tour, canceling Birmingham show just hours before they fight mystery virus. So another performer is getting sick and has to cancel and can't do their job. Jim Wellham, veteran theatrical agent, dies at 68. 16-year-old diagnosed with leukemia dies the same day. PA family say it's a nightmare. You know about that, right? So this person just goes to town on a robot here. Like here's the robot's head and stuff, and they've been doing it for a while and just going at it, right? It's got like a club. This is in China. And she ain't having any more of it. I don't know what the robot did. But I don't know if they got kaboom, and just yelling and pointing at people and swinging the club, and it's got this, I don't know, some kind of a camera. So this one I'm gonna have to. This video has a lot of swearing and terrible behavior. I feel so much for the parents of the baby. It would have been helpful if they beeped it out, but I'm going to have to beep it out.
That child has been crying for 40 minutes. Lower that, and you can't put your finger in my face like that. Calm the child down, please. I had headphones on. I was sleeping. Why is the baby yelling? I'm not screaming. You want me to scream? I'll scream in a tin can with a baby in a goddamn echo chamber, and you want to talk to me about being okay? Okay, because you're yelling. So is the baby.
The best part is that, like, this is pretty funny all around, but the best part is the guy says, "You're yelling." He says, "So is the baby." A grown man is comparing his behavior to an infant that can't control itself, right? He's absolutely lost it. And he thinks, hey, the baby's yelling, I get to have a tantrum.
You're yelling. So is the baby. Okay, so you're a man. Did that motherfucker pay extra to yell? Okay.
No, I misspoke. The best part is when he says, you're yelling. He goes, well, so is the baby. And he says, yeah, you're a grown man. He goes, well, did that MNFer pay extra? Because the baby's just sitting on the mom's lap or whatever, right? And then the plane starts to rebel against the guy.
You would shut up. Or your voice. Lower that baby's voice. Okay.
And then one of my viewers sent me this, which I guess is from the 90s or whatever it was.
What? Corey Haim and Corey Feldman are giving out their personal numbers. If you call 1-900-909-3700, you can listen to their private phone messages and get their personal number where you can leave them a message of your own.
I haven't tried it myself, but I would assume that offer is over, so don't call that number because, you know, Corey Haim's dead and Corey Feldman, everybody wish he was. Not me, but everyone else. So if you want to, talk to the Coreys, I think that ship has sailed.
$2 the first minute, 45 cents each additional minute. Ask your parents before you call. 1-900-909-3700.
If you call me right now, I'll give you my private number.
You call that number, and you'll hear a recording, and I'll give you my personal number if you call that, and we'll rap.
Okay, Corey, I know you're dead and all, but, there's only one rapper and you're doing. That's Corey J. Feldman. I mean, you can't rap like Corey J. Feldman raps. Come on, Corey. Even in the afterworld life. A prototypical angel headpiece, the size movement is a little chunky. One of my viewers sent me this.
Who are you? I'm What's your name? Satan.
Okay, so I guess it's for kids. Just a lot of weird stuff. There's other stuff I haven't even gotten to. I'll probably catch up tomorrow because, whatever. We'll see. My eyesight's getting better. It's just adjusted, and my energy levels picked up and started to warm up. So, happy trails ahead. Only spirituality will save this world. It's Paul Romano, definitely pointing from the apocalypse and the ascension. Everyone have a blessed day and be grateful.